Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a Q&A. When I say I've been trying to film this literally all day, I mean all day. I tried probably 10 times, but my kids were extremely fussy today. Everybody's sick, including me, which is why I sound like this. And so it's just been a rough day. So this is the first time I'm able to sit down, no kids. They were both asleep. That's why the lighting is awful. It's because it's nighttime. And I'm going to try and get through these questions and get this posted tonight because I said it was going to go up today. So gosh dang it, it's going to go up today. So I asked y'all on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter if y'all had any questions for me so that we could do a Q&A today, and mostly I got back DMs. So I'm going to be going through the questions, but a lot of people just didn't want their name mentioned in a YouTube video. So I'm just going to keep them anonymous, all of them. So I have them written down over here. If you see me looking over here, I'm reading off the questions. And let's get started. So the first question is, how long have you and Jed been together? Me and Jed have been together for 5 years this year. In October. We started dating in October of 2014 and we got married July 23rd of 2016. So we've been married for 3 years, and 2 of those 3 years we've had children. Do you regret not finishing your degree? No, not at all. The reason why I'm saying that though is because I am going to go back and I am going to finish. I'm not going to finish the same major. I'm not working towards the same career. I don't want to be a vet anymore. It's just not what I'm passionate about. I want to go back to become an OBGYN. If that doesn't work out for some reason, I'm super passionate about women's health, about children and babies, pregnancy. So what I really want to do is, if the OB doesn't work out, then I want to become a pediatrician. But I'm hoping that that works out because I'm so passionate about becoming an OB. It'll be a lot of schooling. I want to go back probably when Bella goes to preschool, which will be in a couple of years, probably 2 years. So it'll be a while, but I am going to go back. But honestly, if I had to go back and do the past 5 years over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I would still get married right out of high school. I'd still go right to college, and I would still have my babies when I did because I love their spacing between them. I love having babies this young. I like being able to keep up with them and do what they want to do, being able to run at the park, and I don't know, being able to keep up with everything they want to do at this age. And they're so full of energy, and I love that I'm still so full of energy being so young. So no, I don't regret not getting my degree. I don't regret not finishing college because I'm going to finish college. Not everybody finishes their college in 4 years right out of high school. Not everyone graduates at 21. And that's okay. You can take a gap year. You can not finish your degree. That's okay. As long as you're happy and you're peaceful with your decision, then you do you. How many kids do you have and how many do you want? I have 2 kids. I have Jency Arabella. She is almost 2. She's 1.5. And then I have Elliot Catherine, and I just had her in March, and she is 8 weeks old. So I have 2 kids. I want 3. I want at least 1 more. The thought of Elliot being my last pregnancy, the thought of that being my last time to experience having a newborn, the first time to experience birth, to experience, as terrible as my pregnancies are, pregnancy. Yeah, that just doesn't settle right with me. I feel like I was meant to just have 1 more. Really like the idea of having an oldest, a middle, and a youngest. but that's just me. Everybody's different. I know Jed, he's okay with just having two. But I do want at least one more, and I feel like my heart's never going to be settled until I have another baby. And I feel like after that, then I'll be like, okay, that's enough. Like, I feel like I'm done and like our family's complete. But right now I just don't feel like our family's complete. My heart doesn't feel at peace, and I feel like as much love as we have in the house, that there could be more. So I have prayed about it a lot, and it's definitely on my mind. So I definitely don't want kids anytime soon. No. 2 under 2 is plenty enough for a while. I definitely want to go back to school first. I definitely want to work through at least a couple of years of college first. So I want Bella to be at least in first or second grade before we even start thinking about any other kids. So it's gonna be a long time, and that's even if I still have to convince Jed. How did you get your kids sleeping in their own beds at night? This is a difficult question because every baby's different. What works for my kids isn't going to work for your kids. Just because it worked for my kids doesn't mean that it's the right way to go about things or that it's the only way to go about things. That just means that my kids did well with it, and that's what works for us. So all that said, for me to bring up a controversial topic is sleep training. So that's what I did with Bella. She was 4 months old. She went through her sleep regression. Well, she was like 3.5 months. We had been putting her to sleep from the time she was born around, it was pretty late, honestly, like 8 or 9 o'clock. She did okay with it for a long time. She wasn't sleeping all night, but she would wake up like once until she was 5 weeks old, 6 weeks old, and then she started sleeping completely through the night, like 9 hours, 10 hours. So that was good for me. That was good enough. Until we hit about the 3.5 month mark, she, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, for a whole week, she would wake up every 30 minutes. When I say every 30 minutes, I mean on the dot, she was awake, and it was driving me insane. By the end of the week, I was over it, and I said, we're going to try this, this, and this, and this, and this, and sleep training was the last option. We tried all the things, routine, same routine that we've been doing every single night, strict on it, and it never helped. So we tried sleep training, and it worked. That's what worked for Bella. The way we did it was we moved her crib into our room. We took one side off, pushed it up flush with our bed, because she had been sleeping in a rock and play up until 3.5 months, swaddled with a passy at night. So we took away the swaddle, we took away the passy, and we took away the rock and play all at the same time. I wanted to get rid of all the crutches. I did not want to be going into her room at night to have to put a pacifier in her mouth again because she had lost it, or she woke up and she couldn't self-soothe. So I definitely wanted to get rid of that. I didn't want to have to deal with that because I had been dealing with it for an entire week of no sleep. So it was just every 30 minutes having to put a pacifier back in her mouth over and over and over again, and I was over it. So we moved her crib into our room. For the first 2 days, she slept in there at night and for all of her naps in our room beside our bed. No swaddle. Well, the first night we tried to wean her off the swaddle, so I left one arm out, and then you take the other arm out the next night if they do well with one arm out, and then you just take the swaddle off. So that's what we did. And so on the third night, she had no swaddle. Her pacifier was already gone. We just cold turkeyed it because she didn't even want it anymore. Like I said, she just kept spitting it back out, and she wouldn't keep it in her mouth, which she was before that. She would keep that thing in her mouth all night long before that, but now she just wasn't. So we decided to take that away. because she obviously didn't want it, and I didn't want to push something that she didn't want. She was obviously not liking the routine. There was something wrong with it. I did a lot of research. I talked to a lot of sleep training experts, people that spend their time studying babies, researching babies and their sleep habits. So I talked to this one lady, and she said that it's really hard on babies' brains to relax and sleep at night if they go to sleep too late, which a lot of moms make that mistake, thinking if I keep them up later, they'll sleep longer, or if I keep them up later, they'll be tired enough to sleep through the night. I can just tire them out. Or you'll keep them up from their naps all day long, thinking if they don't sleep during the day, then they'll sleep better at night. That's not true at all. The sleep trainer told me sleep begots sleep, which means they sleep during the day. If they sleep well during the day, they get the sleep they need. They won't be overtired at night. They won't be too overtired to sleep well at night. You put them to sleep. Babies need to be asleep by 8 o'clock. We always do 7. 7's always worked a lot better for us than 8 o'clock. Sometimes 7:30, but that's pushing it for my kids. They get extremely fussy. They get angry, honestly. And it's better on all of us if they're just in baths at 6:30, both of them. Me and the girls, we take a shower together. I wash them while we're in the shower. It's super fast, super easy, so much easier than trying to get Bella in the bath and wash her, and then get the baby in the bath and wash her, and then me get in the shower after they're asleep and wash me. So we get in the shower together. So much easier. That's what we do for bath time. Bella used to not take baths by herself, so it just became a habit, so that's what we're doing. It works really well for us. And then after bath time, we get into our pajamas, we rub down with lotion, lights go off. Bella gets warm milk. She used to get warm formula, only for nighttime. We didn't do that for naps. Her box fan goes on. We were putting lavender in her essential oil diffuser, and then she went to her crib after we fed her. As soon as we were done feeding her, and she went to her crib. If she fussed, then she fussed. She would fuss for probably 5 minutes. The first night that we did sleep training, the first day we did naps first, she cried I went in at 5 minutes and I patted her butt because she had been crying for 5 minutes. You time from the time they start crying until it's time's up and you go in and help them or they fall asleep. So from the time she started crying, 5 minutes. I went in and I patted her butt, and then 3 minutes after that she fell asleep. Didn't have to go in at the 10-minute mark. We did that all day long that day, 3 or 4 naps, and then at nighttime she spent her first night in her bed in her room. So she did really well that night. She put herself to sleep. It was more of a struggle for the nighttime one because she was used to being in our room and she didn't know what was going on. So that one was a struggle. It took probably an hour for her to finally fall asleep. But like I said, I kept going in there and patting her butt, telling her it was okay, and just loving on her for a minute. I did not pick her up, but I did talk to her. Some people say don't talk to them whenever you go in there, but I talked to my baby, and I kissed her from over the crib, and I patted her butt. Made sure she was okay, and that it wasn't something else like she had pooped or that she had, I don't know. I just made sure that she was alright. I did that for every 10 minutes after that 5-minute period, and then eventually she just fell asleep. That night was just the worst night. The rest of them, it was just 4, maybe 5 minutes, but I never had to go in there at the 5-minute mark. By 5 minutes she was asleep for the rest of the nights that week. And then after that first week, she never cried to go to sleep. You could just lay her down and she would go to sleep. So that's how I did it. With Ellie, she's 8 weeks old. She's been sleeping about 10 hours since she was born, every single night, no wake ups. We don't know what's wrong with her. She's just always done that. She just likes her sleep. They're both asleep in the nursery right now. We just moved them both together in there, and it's going well right now. So I don't know why Ellie's so different. Hopefully she won't hit that 4 month regression like Bella did and really take it hard, because I really don't want to have to move her back into my room. It's so nice having my room back. So pray for me. Hopefully that stays the same. What happened to breastfeeding? What happened to breastfeeding was both of my kids are extremely allergic to milk proteins. Extremely. They can't have any kind of regular formula. It doesn't matter what kind it is. They just can't have any of it. They couldn't have my breast milk. Bella was on my breast milk for 6 weeks. Things got so bad that she was constantly crying nonstop 24/7. I mean, always crying. So we finally took her off of it. She went on to soy. That's when she started sleeping through the night. So obviously it was really bothering her stomach. And it wasn't that she was waking up hungry or that she was crying because she was hungry during the day. It was that she was really, really fussy. Her stomach was always hard, like there was gas, like so hard. So we just felt really bad for her. No medicine helped. We didn't know really what was wrong. We took her to Dr. Annie Louie here, and she told us, hey, she's allergic to milk protein. So we got her on some soy. She did really well with it after that. It still bothered her a lot. She did a lot better on like Nutrimogen and stuff like that, like hypoallergenic stuff, but we kept her on the soy, even though it bothered her a little bit. And then after a few months, it just leveled out, and I guess she grew out of it, because now she drinks whole milk and she's fine. My youngest is not like that. Ellie will, on my breast milk, she was like the worst kind of fussy baby. Inconsolable, extremely upset, always acting like she was hungry, always rooting. Her intestines were so inflamed and irritated that her whole poop was just blood and mucus. Like, that's all it was. So that was the number one reason that I stopped breastfeeding her. With Bella, we didn't get to actually feed from the breast at pumped, because Bella had breathing issues and I wasn't able to do that. With her, when she was first born and she wasn't breathing, it took them like 30 minutes to finally get her to where she was steadily breathing on her own. So they finally brought her back to me and we latched her on, but just after that one feed, she sucked my left nipple off. So we had to start pumping in the hospital because the lactation consultant didn't want me feeding from the breast because too much blood was coming out. That's what happened with Bella. So I liked pumping better with that baby. Every baby's different. Each time you have a baby, it's going to be different breastfeeding wise. So with Ellie, things went a lot smoother at first, other than the blood in the poop, but a little bit sometimes is normal, so I wasn't concerned until about the 3rd day when it was just nothing but blood and mucus. So that was the biggest concern for me. But the other reason why we had to stop was she has such a hard suction. She doesn't have a lip tie, doesn't have a tongue tie. I had her checked. She has a perfect latch, or had a perfect latch. Had it checked by several people several times, but she just sucks so hard that both of my both of my breasts were just nothing but one big scab. Like, it was awful. It was terrible. Every time she would feed, it would just break it right back open. As soon as she would latch, it would literally make me scream. So we had to stop. I tried pumping, but it wasn't the breastfeeding that was the concern. It was the blood and the poop that was the concern. So I tried pumping just to see if maybe we could continue breastfeeding. It wasn't because I was eating dairy, because I didn't eat dairy at this point. I didn't eat dairy in my pregnancy. I don't like milk very much. I don't eat cheese. I don't eat yogurt. Don't eat milk, cheese products. I'm not really sure why my kids are like that, but that's just the way it is. So we had to stop. I tried pumping overnight. I started pumping about 6 p.m. It's when I finally decided, we're done. I'm just going to pump. So I started around 6 p.m. By 6 a.m., I was only pumping like half an ounce in an entire pumping session from both breasts. Like, that's cumulatively half an ounce. So when I started at 6 p.m., I was pumping 5 ounces. So it dramatically dropped. That entire next day, I couldn't get anything to come out. So it's like my milk supply just completely went away because it wasn't a baby sucking from my breast. It was ridiculous, but everything happens for a reason, and obviously she wasn't going to be able to drink my breast milk anyway. So I'm not too upset about it, but I really wanted to breastfeed this time. Hopefully if I have another baby, it'll be different. So, dream vacation, and when do you plan on going? So my dream vacation, if you know me, is Disney World. I love Disney World. I've always loved Disney World. I went when I was about 12 with my family, and I loved it so much. And I would love to give my babies that experience. Even if they won't remember it, I'll remember it. My husband will remember it, and we'll get to have those memories together. So they'll have keepsakes and pictures and vlog footage and videos. So I definitely want to do that. As for when, you got me probably 2 years, maybe. I'm going to try really hard to save up. I really want to have a chance to be able to do something like that with my family. Since we got married, we haven't been able to go on a vacation together. So I'm hoping that we can do that together and be able to experience something so magical as a family. Do you baby wear, and if so, what is your favorite carrier? I do baby wear, but Ellie's just not the biggest fan. With Bella, I used a Moby wrap and I hated it. It was too hot, too bulky, too thick. I just didn't like it. I've used a friend's Sully baby wrap before. It's thin and stretchy, and it feels like you're not even wearing anything, and I love those. I just haven't had the money to be able to buy one. I would love one. Ellie likes wraps better, but I can't find even my Moby wrap. I'm not sure where it went, so I would love to have a Sully baby wrap. I really like Wildbird slings as well. I've tried a friend's Wildbird sling, loved it, but again, I just can't afford to get one right now, but I loved it. If I could have either of those, I would literally die. I love baby wearing. I like being able to have my hands free, and your baby still thinks that they're being carried, and it's amazing. It's so much easier, and it lets me get stuff done that I wouldn't normally be able to get done. You talk about HG all the time on your Facebook, but I have no idea what it is. HG is Hyperemesis gravidarum. I had it with both my pregnancies, which stinks. It's a lot of hospital visits, it's a lot of IVs, a lot of fluids, a lot of electrolytes, it's a lot of nausea medication and more nausea medication and more nausea medication until you find one that kind of works, but not really. It's a lot of standing over the toilet for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and months and months. It's a lot of losing weight and worrying about your body more than your baby at that point. I think with Bella, I lost a total of about 30 pounds. between my first and second trimester with Ellie, I lost a total of about 50 between my first and second trimester. So, I was definitely sicker with my first, but I lost less weight. With my second, don't get me wrong, I was still extremely sick, but I wasn't in the hospital every day. I was going like a couple of times. With Bella, I was in the ER nearly every night getting IV fluids. It was almost every night, every other night, because by the time I went in, I was so dehydrated again that I could barely walk. I was so weak, and felt like my body was like failing. Honestly, it's the worst kind of feeling. With HG, anything can set you off, from someone talking too loud or a smell that you normally like, but which that can happen with any pregnancy anyway, but it's so much stronger when you have HG. Bright lights, neon signs. I had to stop rocking Bella at one point because her box fan, when it was running and I was rocking her in there, was too loud and it made me throw up. People touching you. When Bella would touch my legs, I would be laying on the couch, because I stayed at home with her alone while I was so sick and pregnant, and she would just touch my leg, and I would be laying with a cold rag over my eyes trying to keep it completely dark for me, and when she would touch me, it would instantly make me run to the bathroom because I would puke. Just someone touching you, having like, I don't know, I guess it's like an overstimulation. Anything that stimulates your body just makes you puke. I was probably throwing up at the worst times anywhere from 30 to 40 times a day. At the best times, anywhere from 15 to 20. And that lasted with Bella until 25 weeks, with Ellie until 29 weeks. It lasted a lot longer with Ellie. Not sure why. I thought it was never going to go away. And then at the end, it came back for some reason. For a while, I was just super nauseous again. Biggest pet peeve. Depends on what you're talking about. In general, my biggest pet peeve is, right now, a dirty house. I didn't used to be that way. I used to not care, but I've been working really hard this past year to better myself and better my household, and so I basically deep clean every single day. I'm trying to keep my house clean for the babies and trying to keep it nice and clean. So that's my biggest pet peeve right now. I have a dirty tray sitting on the couch right now that's bugging me so bad. I need to do the dishes before I go to bed. It's about 8 or 9 o'clock right now, so I'm trying to get my house in order and film this video before I have to go. If you're talking about pet peeve of my husband, it is, he sometimes picks his nails like this. That nail clicking sound drives me insane. That's the worst kind of sound. If you're talking about my kids, it's Bella, when I tell her no about something, instead of just not doing it anymore, she will inch her hand towards it and get as close as she can possibly get without actually doing what you told her no about. So you can't get onto her again because she's not doing it, but she's just really close to doing it. That drives me insane. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. Biggest marriage advice. That's what I missed. Pray with your spouse. Pray for your spouse. Spend time praying with each other. That's such a big relationship builder. That's such a big way to spend your private time just growing and learning each other. Bible studies, that's really helpful. Talk to each other. Communication, I'm sure that's what Jed would say, is his biggest marriage advice. Communication. Talking to each other is so important. You cannot hold everything up inside of you and expect things to be okay. You have to communicate with each other. I don't mean you have to yell at each other every single day, but just communicate. Try to give each other notice of when something bothers you instead of letting it build up and build up to where it becomes a fight instead of a conversation. That is my biggest marriage advice. Also, me and Jed, we don't like sleep apart when we have an argument. If we're mad at each other, my biggest rule when we got married was I never want to have to sleep in separate rooms. Never. I think that is the worst thing on a marriage, is to get separated in your own house. But that's just for us. That's my opinion for our relationship. That's everybody's different. Everybody's personality and brain is different. And for me, having that separate time just makes me more angry. Having him in the bed with me, if I'm mad, it kind of tapers me down a bit and it dampens my anger. So just having him in there just makes me feel better and feel more whole. If he's in the other room and I'm having time to stew on things, it definitely makes things worse. Makes things worse in my heart, makes things worse in my mind, definitely makes things worse for both of us. So that's my biggest marriage advice. Communication. Pray with your spouse. Pray for them. Get your own private time to especially pray for your spouse. Don't just like passing prayer as you're getting out of the vehicle in the mornings to go into work. Be like, oh, I pray she's good today. Like, spend deep time praying for your spouse. And pray for their hopes and their dreams, and pray for their growth, and for, I don't know, whatever you need to pray for your specific spouse's needs. If they're going through a hard time, if you know that they're struggling with something, then that's what you need to be praying for. So that's my advice. That's how we do well. Of course, we have our issues. Everyone has their issues and their struggles, but he's definitely my best friend, and I wouldn't want to be with anybody else. So I think that's all the questions. I picked 10, so I think that was all of them. I will talk to you guys next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow my socials. I will put them in the box below. So if y'all have any more questions, please send them to me. I will do another Q&A probably in a couple of weeks. This week I'm going to try and start vlogging. I found a lady that has a camera that I really, really want, so that's what we're doing. If you know of anybody that has a camera they're looking to get rid of for cheap, please DM me. Let me know. Or comment below, because I need a camera desperately. I'm not going to be vlogging on this daggum iPad. So please send me their information. So that will be all for this video. Thank y'all so much. See you in the next one.